I want to thank you for allowing me to take a little bit of your time out of this evening in your holiday party. I'm going to straighten something out right away before we get started. Because when I start talking, I know a lot of you will be sitting at the table saying, how old is this guy? Well, I feel pretty comfortable that I may not be the youngest guy in the room, but I'm right up there with some of the oldest guys. So I'm 65 years old, just so you know.
Youngster.
There you go. So now you can relate to when I was born, and I tell kids all the time, I have a mentoring group, that I was born when Eisenhower was president. They go, who's Eisenhower? Yeah, well, it's kind of like when I say to them, I played with Dr. J, and they go, who's Dr. J? Well, now they're saying, who's Michael Jordan? So that ought to tell you something. I'm one of 5 kids. I was born in Washington, D.C., and I had a couple of moments in my life that I'd like to share with you that kind of set the tone for the person that I am today. The first one was when JFK was assassinated. I had a paper route in Washington, D.C., and it was the first time in my life I was ever really scared. It was such a tumultuous time in this country, and I remember my newspapers didn't come until midnight, and so my uncle had to go out with me and serve the newspapers. On my paper route was a man who was the first African American to desegregate Mississippi, the University of Mississippi. His name is James Meredith. And he was on my paper route. And I remember when I was going to deliver the paper, he opened the door. He said, young man, this country's changing. You better get yourself an education and make sure you stay on top of your game, because it may move away from you so fast that you can't keep up. I had no idea what he was saying. The second event was when I was 13 years old. On this very hot August day in Washington, my mom made me stop playing outside because she wanted to go down to the Lincoln Memorial to hear some guy speak. And I'm like, really? Do we have to? And she goes, come on, get your clothes on, we're going down and hear Martin Luther King speak. So we got down there, and I could see him on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And while I may not have understood his comments, what I was most impressed by was the fact that he was able to make 250,000 people shut up. Nobody said a word while he spoke. And I said, whatever he's saying must be pretty important. And I tell you that story because as I continued on through my progression, Brigham Young University and the University of Georgia wanted me to be the first African American to attend their school. And I thought, I don't know if I want to go out to Provo, Utah. And I'm not so sure I want to go into the Deep South after what James Meredith told me. But I remember what my mother said, make something of yourself. I remember what he said, make sure you get an education. And so I decided to take them up on the offer. Now, quick stop, it almost didn't happen. Because the reason why they were asking me to come there was they thought that I would be able to handle myself in a crisis situation, and I wouldn't allow a terrible situation in this country to overcome me while I was there. So they all came to see me play. They didn't understand what was happening in high school. The greatest high school basketball team at that time was DeMatha High School. My arch rival was James Brown, who was the NFL commentator. Well, my high school was 89-2. We were number 1 in the nation for 3 years. How could we be number 2 in Washington? But they would not allow us to be in front of DeMatha. So we protested. Finally, we got the game. The game was at Cole Fieldhouse in front of 23,000 people. Make a long story short, we beat the pants off of them because we knew we would. And so that's not the story of the game. The story of the game was we were beating them by 35 points, and we started talking trash. We told you couldn't guard us. You can't beat us. Get off the court. And so now the referees are saying, hey guys, relax. But we couldn't relax. We had to rub it in. We've been waiting for 3 years for this to happen. So now our arguments on the court got into the stands. Then the guns came out, and 3 people were shot. At a high school basketball game that was supposed to be a celebration of the greatest high school teams in Washington, D.C. We were just recently voted the greatest high school team that ever played it. And so at that moment, All those coaches who came to see me, all those people who came to watch me play were running out of the gym. Couldn't get out fast enough. And I'm wondering at this point in time, am I going to get a second chance? Am I going to have a chance to go to college? Because my mom, a single mom, raising 5 boys, my size. There's no way. The best she could do was get food on the table, much less try to raise 5 guys. And my mom was no joke. She was 6 feet tall. She didn't play. And I remember in the 7th grade, I told her I was going outside. She said, "Don't you go outside." And I ran out the door. She caught me. Okay, end the story. So the University of Georgia decided that they would give me that second opportunity. And I became the first African-American to graduate from the University of Georgia, first African-American athlete. And I realized then that I was making a difference. As a result of my going there, Dominique Wilkins, Herschel Walker, Terrell Davis, Champ Bailey, Shandon Anderson, Todd Gurley, all of these young men who've gotten scholarships from Georgia got it because I was there. I found out from some students that when they have orientation, they spend 10 minutes talking about me. And I'm like, really? What are they saying? Listen, I was a big kid, not afraid of anything from the city. And when I went to the South, if they didn't want me to eat in their restaurant, I didn't eat there. I could find something to eat. But I wasn't going around back. That wasn't going to happen. If you didn't want me to buy a product in your store, then I didn't buy it. But I wasn't going around back. So we played the University of Kentucky for the first time. Adolph Rucker is their coach. Georgia had not beaten them in basketball in 17 years. And we beat them in Athens. Adolph Rucker wasn't very happy about that. And he would never call me by my name. And so he would say, that boy needs to go back north where he came from. He doesn't belong down here with us. And me being the brass kid I was, I said, well, if he doesn't know my name, maybe when we go to Kentucky, I can remind him. So we go to Kentucky in Lexington, and when I walk into the gym, there's a caricature of my body hanging from the ceiling with a noose around his neck. So my teammates looked at me and asked me, was I going to play? I said, well, he sure can't play. So I guess it's going to be me. I never had any intention of leaving or going home. You can't run me. I got run out of worse places than Lexington, Kentucky. So what I did was score 45 that night. They called my name so many times, there's no way he couldn't remember. And so it started something in the Southeast Conference where one thing about sports, it brings people together of all races, backgrounds, and ethnic backgrounds. I didn't have to like everybody I played with. Didn't have to go to dinner with them. But if that guy could make a jump shot from 15 feet that was going to help me win the game, you better believe I'm going to get him the ball. That's what it's about. And you learn to live with each other. You learn to live with the shortcomings. You learn to understand that people come from different places and different backgrounds, but we're all the same. We're all the same. And so as I continued through my journey and made it to the pros, I will tell you 2 stories about 2 all-time great players. First one is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 7'2". Now I'm pretty tall, but I ain't that tall. So we're playing the Lakers, and I think he was disinterested that night. So he was kind of sleepwalking through the game. But me, I'm holding to 11 points. That's all I remember in the 3rd quarter. And back then you used to have a jump ball for every quarter. So in the 4th quarter we jumped. Lakers got the ball, and he went down and stood in front of the basket. They gave it to him, and he boom, dumped over it. And on the way back down the court, patted me on the back, he goes, "You're a good player, Tim, you're just too short." My second one was, I played with Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain, and I know we have a lot of Bill Russell fans, but I'm sorry. You have to be on the court to understand. This man did things on a basketball court that have never been seen. Today is the anniversary of a day. He scored 78 points and got 43 rebounds. I can't even say it. Can you imagine? 78 points and 43 rebounds. Now, if I'm starting my team tomorrow and I have the first pick, I'm taking Chamberlain. And you can have Russell and Jordan and anybody else you want. I can find some guards. I can find Walt Frazier and Jerry West somewhere. I can get somebody. Oscar Robinson's out there. But you're not going to find a world champion. So my first day of practice, we had a drill which is called 2-on-1. In the 2-on-1 drill, we would drive at Wilt. He would be under the basket, and he would block a shot, or you'd make a shot, a layup. He said, must be a layup. So if anyone of us or any of you who've ever played sports, little guys always get the big guys in trouble. So for about 3 minutes, Wilt's blocked everybody's shot. Nobody's shot has made it to the rim. And one of my guard teammates goes, hey, how long are you going to let him block your shot? So we talking about, he blocked every shot you put up there. When you going to throw something up there he can't block? He said, you should dunk on him. I said, really? He goes, yeah, you can do it. Look at him. Every time he gets ready to block a shot, he has to go down and then come up. Now he's talking me into it as we work our way up the line. So he goes, I'll pass it to you. You pass it back to me. I'm going to drive as hard as I can. And I'm going to lay the basketball up. At the last second, drop it to you. You dunk on it. Sounds like a plan. I fell for it again. So off we go. I pass, I give it to him. At the last second, he gives it to me, and I see the basket. And I bring the ball back like this and get ready to dunk. And then, the next thing I know, they were waking me up. What happened? He's standing on me. Young fella, I don't like to be dunked on. I said, okay. This is a different kind of game we're playing here in the pros. I've been very fortunate to have played with another great player. His name is Dr. J. Yeah. Some 40 years ago when we came to New Jersey, I was the last guy left from our 2 championship teams. And I promoted Nets basketball in New Jersey like it's going out of style. I was in every strip mall, every bank, every school. When I tell you I know my way around New Jersey, I know my way around New Jersey. And so when we first started playing together, Julius said to me, we're going to trade for you. If we get you on our team, we'll win the championship. I'm a guy who averaged 7 points and 9 rebounds a game. Why would he be saying that to me? He said, because you know who you are. He said, you stay in your lane. It doesn't bother you that somebody else gets the glory. He said, the only difference between your rings and mine says Irving, and yours says Bassett. He said, and your 900 rebounds are the reason why we won. I couldn't have scored 35 points a game if you don't get 900 rebounds. And I realized we're all trying to play as a team. We all need to find a way to work together. It's not easy. Definitely not easy. But we need to find a way. And that's what I've been doing my entire life, trying to find a way. And even at 65 years old, I'm still trying to find a way. I'm trying to find a way to help our young people make better choices in their life. For 30 years, I've had a mentoring group in Long Island. For 20 years in New Jersey, I'm at a school every day. You might say my pants are on fire because I never sit down. I'm never home, and I'm sure Reed can attest to that. She probably tried to call me on the phone a million times, and I tell her, I said, don't worry, if I say I want to be there, I'll be there. I was in 3 schools today. I was in 2 schools yesterday. I was at a conference on Monday. I got a big holiday party when I leave here tonight. I never sleep because I think I have a lot to do. I have a lot to do. I tell young people, and this is something I want to leave you with today. I was asked to go live in a foreign country. And when you're young and someone asks you to move all the way on the other side of the world, your first answer, I'm not going over there. And the country was Italy. I said, I'm not going to Italy. I don't know anybody in Italy. None of my friends are over there, and I don't speak the language. As a matter of fact, the only thing I know in Italian is Mamma Mia. Well, I was there for 7 years. Nobody else said Mamma Mia. So I need to learn to speak the language. And I tell young people, you can do anything in life if you work at it. So while I was there, I learned to speak Italian. First thing I got was a job on the radio station. Ascolto la musica di Radio Sound. Vale, 103.4. Musica favolosa, 24 ore al giorno, ogni giorno. You listen to World 3.4, 24 hours a day, every day. Who would have thought? And while I was there, I bought a German Shepherd. His name was Chaser. Chaser in English means season. And I brought Chaser back to America with me. And when I was doing Nets games on radio and TV, I dropped him off at the kennel. And on this one occasion, I went to get him, and there was a new guy there. And he said, "Man, you got a crazy dog. He doesn't listen to anything anybody tells him. I open the gate, he's running all around. I can't get him to sit down. He won't do anything. Don't you train your dog?" I go, "Yes, sir. My dog's fully trained. You can open the gate and let him out." He said, "No, man, I'm not chasing that dog another step." He said, "If I open that gate, you're on your own." He's fine, sir. So he opens the gate. Chaser, vieni qua. So he comes over and sits by my knee. I go, "Jew." He lays down. So I'm writing the guy a check. This is a good time to show off now. Chaser, Mekitila. He goes and gets in the trunk. I go, "What's the matter?" He said, "I'm going to tell everyone I know. That's a German dog. You're an African American. And you guys speaking Italian." Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for allowing me to come in. I have a place in New York City. It's called the Back Room. It belonged to Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano. And Boardwalk Empire is based on the speakeasy. It's one of the last two remaining original speakeasies in New York. And we've had every television show filmed there: Person of Interest, Elementary, Blue Bloods, Law and Order. I could go down the list. We've probably done about 25 movies. I've had the opportunity to meet every superstar in the business of movies, from Robert De Niro to Denzel, Scarlett Johansson, whom I like a lot. But I found, again, there was a thing that I learned: people are all the same. If you work hard at your craft, you'll be successful. If you do what you're supposed to do, you'll be successful. I tell young people, I don't need to stand here and watch you do your work. The person who's going to benefit from you doing your work is you, not me. Do your job. Do your job. You shouldn't have to have someone watching every move that you make. And so I've learned over these times and over the years that there are some amazing people in this world. And there are a lot of good things we see every day, all the bad things that happen. But there are a lot of good things that go in this world. And people like you who are out to help other folks, that's where it starts. Everyone should give something back. And that's what I try to do with our young kids every day. And so from the bottom of my heart, I thank you so much for allowing me to come here today and have a chance to speak with you. You guys are wonderful, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Does anybody have?
Absolutely.
I just want to say that my father is 83 years old and went to the University of Kentucky and loves their basketball.
Well,
But I will call him tomorrow and let him know that things are,
It's interesting that you say that, because I was recently inducted into the Southeast Conference Hall of Fame. And everybody was wondering what my remarks were going to be. Was I going to mention what happened when we played the University of Kentucky? And when I got up to give my remarks, I did not mention it, because I didn't think it had anything to do with the reason why I was there. And why would you open old wounds that have been closed? And so guess what? I benefited from being able to go to the University of Georgia. I benefited from the adversity that I went through. And so to me, it was just another chapter in my life, and I was able to move on from it. So I don't have any problem with the people from Kentucky, not at all. Yes.
I want us to do 2 things.
Oh, wow.
We've had, and if you have any funny stories about Dr. J, because he's my all-time favorite player.
Yeah.
Other than yourself, though.
Well, Dr. J and I became friends in the summertime when I was a rookie here in New York. We played in the rookie tournament together.
Yeah.
And we were really fast friends. And then I ended up going to San Diego, and I played for a team which none of you can say the name, the San Diego Conquistadors. Well, people couldn't say the name, so we were San Diego Qs. And then he was in New York, and very instrumental in making me a teammate. But that year of '76, when they had the very first slam dunk contest, and people said nobody can dunk from the free throw line. We were in practice, and at the end of practice, he told me to go lay down at the free throw line. And he, after a 2.5-hour practice, jumped over me 3 times and dunked. And I ran to the bank as fast as I could. I said, I'm going to take everything I own to Denver, because nobody's going to believe what they're about to see. And so we get to Denver, and there were some exciting guys in the tournament. It was the first time, because dunking wasn't what it is today. Every time you saw somebody dunk, it was, even Wilt. People think Wilt must have dunked on people all the time. Wilt had 2 signature moves. He had a fadeaway, and his most famous shot was the Big Dipper. But he was a tremendous athlete. So in this dunk contest, you had the prerequisite dunks where everybody dunked and everything. And then Julius came out with the basketball in his hand. He took a look at the basket, and he went back 9 big steps. The whole arena stood up. They knew something was getting ready to happen. They just didn't know what. And so he ran, and he took off from the free throw line, his big afro waving in the wind, got up, and bam! When he dunked it, it was like an explosion. People said, are you kidding me? Nobody's ever done that before. And I go, yeah. And I'm not sure how long it'll be before you see somebody else. But for me, it was one of the most exciting days of my career in basketball, other than winning the championship. And playing with this guy, he was such an unselfish, such a professional. I learned how to be a professional being around him. He was so patient after games. If it took 2 hours to talk to every reporter, we could be on the bus grumbling that we were waiting for him, but we knew he was our meal ticket. That's fine. And he would answer every question. He would sign every autograph. And by doing so, he taught me that you never turn anybody away. You don't know who that person is that you may be turning away. And if some young kid walks up to you and wants your autograph, sign it. I was just saying at the table a little bit earlier that when I was a kid, I was a big-time baseball fan in Washington, D.C. Now, only the guys in here who my peers, guys my age group, I could do it. They would know that the first Washington Senator team became the Minnesota Twins. The second Washington Senator team became the Texas Rangers. And then this team that came from Montreal somewhere that calls themselves the Washington Nationals, that's who's there now. I was there with the first team. We were first in war, first in peace, and last in the American League. I didn't know what baseball really was until the Yankees came in for a doubleheader one Sunday. And they beat the brakes off the Senators. I mean, it was 12-2 and 14-1. And I saw Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris and Elson Howard and Bill Scown and Whitey Ford and Clete Boyd. I was like, holy smoke, what a team. I'm going to wait after the game and get an autograph. So I waited, and they got on the bus. There's Mickey sitting right in the window right there. And I stick my program, Mr. Mantle, could you sign my program? He takes the program, I think he was going to sign it, but the bus pulls off. So I'm standing there hoping that he throws it out the window or something, but the bus goes on. I was so disappointed when I went home that day. I wasn't mad at him because I knew he wasn't driving, but I was so disappointed. Well, 40 years later, I'm doing my radio show at Mickey Mantle's restaurant, and we're there every Friday afternoon. And so I'm sitting there broadcasting, in walks Mickey Mantle. And so I get him on the show for 5 minutes, and I relate the story to him. He goes, you kidding me? I said, well, I wouldn't expect you to remember that. I said, but you were my favorite player. I'd never seen Willie Mays and Hank Aaron. They were in the National League. I said, I was a Yankee guy. And I said, I was so disappointed I didn't get your autograph. So after he got up from the table, he left, and I didn't think any more about it. He comes back to the table with this gigantic picture of him and Joe DiMaggio. and he signs it for me to Tim. I'm so sorry about your lost program. And that's one of my most treasured mementos that I got from Mickey Mouse. Yes.
You've been through, you're a little bit younger than I am, but you've been through the same, eras and that. How do you see the differences between what we saw back when we were kids versus today's disruptions and, conflicts?
Well, a lot of it, and I was just talking about this earlier, a lot of it has to do with the way that we're set up and our family situations. Most of both people in the family work. So that means most of these kids are latchkey kids with nobody to give them any direction and tell them what to do. And so they usually have to fend for themselves. And a lot of that comes with what you're seeing on television, what you see on these videos, and the things that you can do with your cell phone. They're not getting the right answers. I mean, I'll probably be mentoring until I die because these kids just don't know. And so someone needs to tell them. And as I said before, my mother, even though she worked 2 jobs, she still might have been the most incredible disciplined person I ever met. And I told, if you don't mind, I can relate another story. I got plenty of them. When I was a kid, I went up to the drugstore one day and I didn't have any money. And so I wanted this candy bar so bad. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, I'm gonna take this candy bar, nobody's gonna know. So I stick the candy bar up my sleeve, my shirt like this, and I start walking towards the door, and the guy who ran the drugstore grabs me by the arm and pulls me in. Son, where you going? I said, he said, give me that candy bar. So I give it back to him. He says, I know who your mother is. I said, call the police. Please don't call my mother. Well, he called. And she comes to the drugstore, and I'm standing there, my legs are like jelly. She's holding on to me, and he said, Mrs. Bassett, he's a really good kid. He comes in all the time. And blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, sure. And he said, so, I'm just going to let you take him home. I said, please don't. So she pulls me by the shirt, and out the door we go. And we're walking down the street, and she goes, you get home, you go down in that basement, and you wait for me. And I'm looking for something to kill myself, So we go home, and she left me down there for a long time. And I think she was so mad that I embarrassed her, that I think if she came down to beat me, she probably would have killed me. So she comes downstairs, and to this day, I won't touch one of these books. It's a composition notebook with the little spots on them. She brought 2 of them downstairs. You will write in this book every day, I must not steal. I must not steal. And she said, by the time you get to go outside and play again, the kids are going to think you're somebody new just moving next. We've been on that block for 30 years. And down the steps I go, this is June. Every day I'm writing. Every day I'm writing. And she would come home and say, Mr. Jones doesn't know if he's going to press charges or not. I'm such a young kid, over 5 cents candy bar. And I'm down, don't let him, I don't want to go to jail. Keep writing. So I'm writing this now July, beginning of August. And my grandmother came to visit, and I could hear them upstairs talking. And she says, how long are you going to keep that kid downstairs? She said, until school starts if I have to. She said, let the boy go outside and get some air. He's been down there all summer. So my mother comes downstairs and she goes, follow me. I said, yes ma'am. I go upstairs. And it was like getting out of jail. She opened the front door. She said, see that swing right there? Sit in it. And don't move. And every time I look out this door, you better be sitting in that seat. And to me, some people might have thought that was abusive. I think it's the right thing to do. If you don't take charge of your children, who is? If you don't make them respect you and your rules and regulations, everybody's scared to say something to the kids. Not me. Not me. And I look at my kids, graduated 5th in this class in Syracuse. My daughter graduated from Rutgers University, and asked them who they were most afraid of in their life. And they was, My dad. So you doggone right. You know, I didn't beat my kids, didn't have to. But they understood what was right and what was wrong. And our parents have to do that with our kids. We can't be afraid to discipline. Problem is we can't discipline them if we're not home. And that's the problem that we're the big obstacle that we're trying to overcome. Because you may want to, you know, when I got sent downstairs, I didn't have video, computer, TV, you know, all these different things. I could go downstairs and while my time away, which is what kids do mostly anyway. Punishment meant you go downstairs and sit in the dark. But a lesson has to be learned. And so our parents have to start and take charge of that before anybody else can get them to do anything. Their parents are going to have to do it. All right. Anybody else?
Thank you so much for
Bless you,
speaking
Mike.
to us. The chapter are making a donation to an organization called Heroes and Cool Kids on behalf of Tim. That's one of his organizations that he supports and speaks for. So that donation is going to be made in the next couple of days. So again, we thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you very